vulnerable, yeah, are powerful. And the most gangster thing you could do is serve. This is All the Way Live.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, as customary on this podcast of ours, can you hit all sorts of drops, bombs, gunshots, or whatever to welcome us in?
Oh, I got you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, this is the All the Way Live podcast, and you know we do the show of ours every week, Miles Xavier, giving these people some carefully curated content for their cranium. We don't miss. We're surgical with it. We got some people that are listening on a regular basis, and to those people, we say thank you. We see you. We appreciate you. And how we show that appreciation by putting together what we believe to be a serious show. What do you say?
I say, I'm with you. Carefully curated content. I'm here for it. Vibes is in the building. Live Nation is in the building. And the gratitude is definitely in the building.
For sure, man. For sure. And you know why we do this, Miles? We really do care about creating a space that is positive, that people can come to and sip from a fountain of good energy, even if it's for a second. Because we know people are really going through things, man. And so what our contribution towards that is dedicating our time to putting together this show for y'all. And today we've got nothing but super exciting topics, man. We talking about TikTok, Black TikTok stars striking, something to that effect. We're talking about Sha'Carri Wilson. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Is it Sha'Carri or Jakari?
It's Sha'Carri.
And I wrote it down like that. Sha'Carri Wilson. And we're also going to be...
It's actually Richardson, though.
So I got the first part correct, and I got this right after I'm talking about how much time we spend in our research and whatnot. But that being said, man, we speak about absolutely everything from things we stumbled upon all the way to the current news, where we dedicate our time to researching these things and reaching for the absolute hottest news topics. And then we also do this, our favorite part of the show, which is recommended and review. And Miles, can you tell the people why this is our favorite part of the show, man?
Oh, no, it got to be recommended and review, because that's where we interact with you. You know, we review what you recommend. We recommend what we think is cool. And this week we're getting into Call Me If You Get Lost, Tyler, the Creator.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm not a huge Tyler aficionado, but I might be now. I don't know.
We had to go back. We had to go back, man, because I think we glossed over it last week, and I called you during the week. I was like, hey, man, listen, I don't know what your listening plan looks like, but let's review this week.
I had planned to get around to it, but you definitely made me pick it up sooner than I would have, and I appreciate that. Man, we're going to get into that. But without further ado, you already know what's going on, man. Chicago's in the building. Johannesburg is in the building. You know what I'm saying? Brought to you from the illustrious Gallery Momo on that side. You know, supplier of fine Black art and silk do-rags. You see my brother rocking the newest models of both of them over there. You know what I'm saying? YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And if you're on the Spotify, if you're on the SoundCloud, wherever you at, we appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? On this side, we are in Chicago. This podcast was recorded on stolen land. You know what that means, man. This land was cared for by the Potawatomi people, the Council of the Three Fires, and the violence done to remove them from this land is inseparable from the state that we find this city in, the state that we find this country in, the state that we find this world in. So we got to lift up love between Black and brown people the world over. We got to lift up indigenous people the world over.
Yes,
period.
Sir.
Lift up love, period. Intro done, period. Let's get into the show.
Hey, man, listen, you were just telling me, we are just speaking off air about what perfect timing we were able to meet each other even happened. And like how sometimes some people just come into your life at the right time. Because although we had very similar high school upbringings, if we would have met at high school, we would have definitely hated each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the timing of when somebody comes into your life can determine if that relationship is lifelong or if that relationship presents itself as a lesson, right? The flip side is, you know, meeting somebody so similar to myself not knowing how to share space with that person maybe in high school might have been a lesson. But thankfully, I had learned a little bit more. I had my ego had been taking enough licks, hits, and pitfalls to be at a level where I could nothing but appreciate somebody who shared my interest. And plus, campus was big enough for the both of us. I'd say we divvied it up, and there was peace in all the territories of the land. So it was straight.
You make it sound like we dominated different areas and came to like a gangster understanding of sorts where we tied do-rags in the middle of a Chalmers Street. That's an Illinois reference for my Illinois folk.
Word served different areas, but definitely gangster, definitely do. Yup, definitely bandana tied for sure. But we served different areas of campus.
That's hilarious. But that's actually
and shout out to my constituents. Word. What up?
Also known as customers.
My custies. It's one time for the custies.
Divine timing, a lot of the work we do, and we're recording this quite, if we're being transparent with our audience, right? We're doing work in the background, with the foundation work, and we're trapping in. Even after recording this, we're gonna have to take off podcast co-host hats and dive back into it too. So when I look at the timing of how even the work that we're doing comes to us, it's almost a certification that things just happen when they're supposed to happen.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with my pops the other night, just about my trajectory in life and how, being able to create this foothold in service, right, for my community, and be able to like eat off of that has been amazing. But it's also been like me taking a path less traveled, right, than the traditional, like get a foothold in corporate and climb the corporate ladder and whatnot. And to have you as an example of somebody who's always been a maverick when it comes to, the different levels and different ways that you've decided to build your career and build up your professional self and your resume. It was dope to be able to point to the conference, the panel discussion that we spoke about a couple episodes ago, and just to explain to my pops, like, I have this person who mirrors both my values and the impact that I want to have in the world. And look at this person having reached this stage of where he should be recognized among the people that he should be among, with this less than traveled trajectory. And so the ways in which I've been able to stabilize in that regard, I would hope have been, helpful to you and reassuring of that the path we're on is a possible one. And very much it's been helpful to me and even helpful to help others understand that path,
Yeah, definitely. And that's the value now of being around the right type of people, because I always say the work I'm doing now, this impact driven work, came from being around you. It came from, and I guess this is the friendship appreciation podcast. People are gonna be like, "Did this dudes just meet each other? What's going on?"
We need a third person to jump in there and just boo a little bit. Boo.
For sure. And we'll wrap up the Mouse's Way appreciation, but it's I think it's important to be open about the different ways that relationships, friendships, business can intersect with each other, and also being around people that push you to be a better person, be it professionally, be it whatever it is, and that being able to have some cool impact. So I'm sure there's some booze coming around, but hey, man, it's important to talk about these things.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all, as we indulge ourselves, and hopefully that conversation reminded somebody of relationships that they have in their life, and just to be thankful for them, and just to, reach out to your people and say, yo, I appreciate you for the support, because everybody can use a little extra love, right? So appreciate that which I get from you, appreciate that which we get from y'all. Where we going with it? Stumble upon?
You tell me black TikTokers on strike, but this is Stumble Upon. I believe we have a drop for that as well, because that's the type of podcast we have around here.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Man, so what I seen was, first of all, Black TikTok is on strike, right? Have you
What
heard
does that
about this?
mean? Nah,
you
I
seen
haven't
this?
heard
Have you
about
heard
this
about
at
this?
all. Not, have you seen this? Have you heard about? Where's that from, even?
That's from South Park. That's the
That's
Jimmy from South Park. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Check this out. So, Black TikTokers have refused to choreograph any Mo dances, right? Namely, Megan the Stallion. Whew, that was close because of what the name of the song is. Megan the Stallion dropped a song called Thought Shit. And unlike Savage, unlike a few of
Megan Thee
Megan's other
Stallion.
tracks, yeah, a few of her other tracks typically do get accompanied by a TikTok dance being created, choreographed, for it to go viral, become a trend. Everybody got to do the dance challenge, right? Those dances are typically created by young Black individual creators, right? Just Black people having fun on TikTok. But as the dances get popular, the most popular videos and the credit is typically given to white creators, right? And so Black TikTokers, a lot of the there's been a push, kind of an agreement to say we're not going to create a dance to that shit because and let the platform flounder, right? And not have a dance to this song just to show the power of Black creators. And up until now, there hasn't been a dance or a challenge to that song.
Have you heard the song?
Yeah, I've heard the song.
And
It's all right, but the song, the quality of the song isn't typically what determines whether or not it gets a dance challenge. It's typically just the artist, and it's typically just the desire to create more content. Content creators want to have to put out more content to stay relevant and to maintain gaining followers, and followers want more content. So typically, whatever song it is, if it's by somebody as popular as Megan Thee Stallion, it'll get a dance.
by the way, you calling her Megan the Stallion, the full thing makes you sound mad old. Just so you know. The kids say Meg.
Damn, you're probably right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my grandpa-ish ways.
You're isolating our teenage demographic, bro.
Well, tell our teenage demographic to check out Rome Streets.
No, but and we have to be fair in the way that we measure protest, right? This is a version of her protest. She's withholding creative. She's withholding her skills and her power in order to make a statement about something. And I go ahead.
She's not. So it's not up to her, right? It's up to the individual TikTokers who have who Black TikTok, right? As for to whatever extent that could be considered a collective of people has decided, nah, we not making no dance. So it's not up to Meg. I think Meg has. I have a couple of other points about the story. I don't have Meg's specific response, but I haven't heard that she's. I would imagine she's in support of the TikTokers. The song still gets whatever. It's more promotion for the song, but I would hope that she gets it. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. I haven't looked it up.
But I mean, Black culture has always been cool culture. I was speaking to somebody about that recently, and we were just going back to even the origins of where coolness comes from all the greats. You can go Elvis Presley, he's impersonating Chuck Berry. You go, they look at what Boyz II Men was to NSYNC. They look at all of that. There's always been coolness, and what you're starting to see a lot more is that when pop acts want to be able to even be considered relevant, they'll then do their Black, they'll do their Black thing, a la your Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, and utilize that Blackness as an entrance into what is considered coolness.
Even more problematic with creators that have very few rights, right? Just in releasing their content on TikTok. It's not even the Black creators that get acknowledged, even a tokenish way, right? Even in it's white creators that do the dances that get opportunities. So for example, back in March, Jimmy Fallon invited TikTok star Addison Rae Easterling to perform a series of 8 viral TikTok dances on his show, none of which she created, right? The majority of these dances haven't been created by Black TikTokers. So she gets the opportunity to go on Jimmy Fallon, do all of their dances, none of them were given credit, right? Eventually, the links to the original TikTok video accounts were get put in the YouTube description of the Jimmy Fallon video after it aired, right? Another example, during last year's NBA All-Star Weekend, the NBA invited several white TikTok creators, including Easterling and siblings Charlie and Dixie Amello. The trio scored prime seats, sat for interviews, and were even asked to dance on the court. So that seems like an opportunity that a young Black TikTok creator should have gotten and would appreciate potentially more than these white content creators. It seems like
100%.
an organization like the NBA would be more sensitive to that, which I think just indicates that the trend is to get these white faces doing these dances that are created by Black folks. And that's where the monetization starts happening, at the exclusion of these creators.
100%, and that's always been the formula for white coolness. You don't, and that's not a grandeur statement. That's just the reality of where cool culture comes from. If you take, for instance, the fact that hip hop was the most valuable music genre of the last 2 years, that the artist of the generation is a Black hip hop artist. You take the influence of, let's say, even Fortnite, right, which gets a lot of its appeal from being able to incorporate modern dance culture. None of those people got paid for that they got paid for that. Depending for how far back we want to look at, how long Black creators have been exploited only for their art to be mimicked by whiter artists and then be push forward to popularity. But so this type of protest, to me, I think is fantastic. I think it's really cool to see people banding together and withholding their skills. I would love to see what the white dance from this protest looks like. But also, Miles, we have to be honest in that we sometimes lack the attention span to stick together for a purpose. I remember when, was it Gucci or was it something? It was Gucci. They did something very offensive to the Black culture. T.I. said he stopped wearing Gucci, but then very shortly after that, that went down.
It has, but I think that whole movement also has supported the growth of Telfair, right? The Black-owned luxury brand of purses and other like bags, items like that, that's gaining traction, right? I think Telfair is part of that is because people don't want to deal with a white-owned company that's going to be insensitive, that really at its core doesn't want our business. I think as Black businesses are created, people might not be able to collectively move in against Gucci for long enough because it's in too many songs. It has too entrenched a place in luxury culture. But when other brands come up, people do remember feeling hurt on an individual level and might be more likely to gravitate toward those Black brands, which will give us power, right? So I think that's what this type of protest shows is a ability to gather together and do that, if only for a moment. And we need to continue to protest it and acknowledge these moments when our stuff is taken. Like you mentioned, it's happened with jazz, it happened with rock and roll, it happened with hip hop, happened with hip hop music, happened with those whitewash Step Up movies that they did and capitalized, made millions of dollars off of the hip hop dancing, break dancing, right? That were led by typically not Black, not dark-skinned people, not people that really truly represented the hip hop movement. Channing Tatum was the star of that first joint, I'm pretty sure, right? So like, and then all the way from that to TikTok, right? There's a through line of just being like, of putting these white faces at the forefront of what we've created. And I'm just glad that those creators, even on TikTok, are collectively acknowledging it. You know what I'm saying? Where we do have, if not the power to license and own the content of the dances yet, at least the power to show that without us, y'all ain't got nothing. And that's what's on TikTok right now, is the dances that white people are creating, trying, and it's not hidden.
I don't know what song Meg Thee Stallion made this particular song, but I can guarantee you that fundamentally a lot of the creators that are not protesting would lack the logistical capabilities in order to pull off the type of maneuver you would need to fully enjoy that song.
And I, like you, Zoe, await the day that we can fully enjoy the type of music that Megan Thee Stallion makes.
Yo, drop that drop for us one time so they know how serious we are, man.
Oh, it gotta be.
Gotta
That's right. That's right. That's right.
be. Oh, man.
But shout out to Black TikTok. Shout out to Black people being real and honest and demanding about what's theirs.
I feel like you're about to take us somewhere with that.
I mean, I could move us on into current news if you're ready for that.
I mean, if you got a drop for it, I'm down to talk about it.
Current news. Sha'Carri Richardson.
Indeed, man, this has been blown up.
I don't know what Sha'Carri's fan base name is yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we the cars. I don't know if we the Richie Riches. You know what I'm saying? But whatever the Sha'Carri Richardson fan base is, I consider myself a member. We all need to have a meeting and figure out what the name is so that we can make T-shirts. Because I rocks with Shorty, right? Personally, when I first saw her picture, when I first saw the video of her smoking the 100 meters, like I was like, that is Black excellence and Black joy, and it just resonated with me.
Yeah.
What you think about Sha'Carri? Have you heard what's going on?
I mean, Miles, as somebody that's known me for a very long time and know the things in life that inspire me and the things in life that give me joy and the things that fit my very strict acceptance level of things that I regard as beautiful. You know exactly how I feel about Sha'Carri Richardson. And as you said, as a member, I'd like to, as the vice president of the Richardson's Club, which is what we're temporarily calling it until we can further name pending. Name pending.
I'll name this fan club later. I like it.
I like what you did there, sir. Only a few people are gonna get that, but I appreciate it. No, but on a serious note, man, Black excellence. I love seeing Black beauty. I love seeing Black dominance. It's sad how backwards we are as a people in order for that to be something that can disqualify an athlete from being able to participate in the Olympics. That to me is something that is quite difficult to fathom.
I think you're spot on, brother. So I'm gonna do back up, and I escaped the drop before, but I'm gonna do a little bit more reading, and so I gotta bring it on in.
Yo, nigga, your brother told us how you be all into reading and shit.
Nice.
Hey, that's some real good shit, my nigga, for real. Congratulations, nigga.
Sha'Carri Richardson had secured her spot at the Tokyo Olympics with a runaway victory in the women's 100 meter at the U.S. Olympic track and field last month. She was suspended 1 month from the Olympic team after testing positive for THC, which is the chemical compound found in marijuana. So she was tested, as all the U.S. athletes are tested. All the athletes that participate in the Olympics are tested for drugs under the pretense of performance-enhancing drugs, right? They found weed in the system, suspended her 1 month, which disqualifies her from participating in the 100 meter, right? Potentially, she'll be able to participate in some other events at the Olympics, but not her spotlight event, right? The one that we all saw her and were moved by her winning. So I think the question, and I think the issue as you laid it out for us, is that should it disqualify her to have smoked weed to participate in the Olympics, considering that it's probably not in the category of performance enhancing drugs?
My question, Miles, right? And it's entirely possible that we're ignorant to the potential compound benefits that THC as a chemical might be included in other performance enhancing substances and whatnot. But to the best of my knowledge, that is not necessarily the case. So if it if alcohol was found in her in her system, would she have been suspended?
I don't think so. And there's also like complications around how long weed stays in your system. Um, and she made a statement that I want to get to in a little bit about, and she's handled it from my perspective in a very graceful way. And I want to get to her statement in a minute, but I think this story just runs so contradictory to everything that we've heard about weed and reflects an archaic kind of ideology around cannabis that we would think, considering some of what we've seen in legislation, we would have moved beyond, right? So it seems like, to me, a lot of what we even the misconceptions about cannabis are that it makes you lazy, da 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 da. You know what I mean? And that, so for someone to be caught using it in the Olympics and to be disqualified seems that you're playing both sides of the fence. You know, I think the shock comes from not being able to understand what coherent argument somebody who thinks she should be disqualified could be making.
Precisely. It's that. And it's what's infuriating about it is, let me not say what's infuriating about it. As you had said, she's handled this completely like a professional, and she's handled it. I have no critique on how she's handled it. But as you get into a statement, the taboo behind it, the bad name behind cannabis, especially when there are countries and places where you can literally purchase this product not just for chemical purposes but recreationally. There's vending machines where you can do that. For why that can lead towards a young Black woman being disqualified. When I saw somebody on Twitter put up the argument that when Michael Phelps was caught smoking a bong, it was almost, it was very lighthearted and was a joke, which speaks more towards obviously the increased pressure that Black women have to face just in general for being who they are. But it is quite infuriating when something that is legal in a lot of countries, that, as you said, no coherent arguments as to why not, as to how this could be a performance enhancing substance. It makes you wonder what else. It just makes you wonder, at what point do these archaic systems get to fall away, and we can be more inclusive about how people actually live their lives instead of holding them up to a standard that makes absolutely no sense.
And when we're reminded of a rule, or we're reminded of a way in which we are operating in a system that is archaic, that needs to change, do we change it? Or do we, uphold that unjust system, even when we're even in this opportunity being reminded of it, right? Like, oh yeah, we still have kind of scientifically and probably just generally wrong ideas around marijuana and rules around it. We could either use this as an opportunity to take them down, or uphold them and cost this woman a big portion of her career, right? Or a big opportunity in her career. And then do what? Let the rules operate through bureaucracy to potentially be changed or not? I don't think that's, I think that is frustrating, especially in the face of when it happens to white people, we don't tend to address it. We just tend to ignore it, right? And the rule isn't upheld. So I think that disparity is trying. But I want to get to her statement.
Please do.
Understanding that the rule, what? Oh,
I said, please do.
Yeah. So understanding that the rules are what they are, she said, I just want to take responsibility for my actions. I know what I did. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm allowed not to do. And I still made that decision. I'm not making an excuse or looking for any empathy in my case. She also cited that the passing of her biological mother and finding that out through a reporter was a source of the stress as she turned to marijuana. That was a source of stress that she turned to marijuana to cope with.
And the cannabis industry is big business in the US, right? This is what I'll say towards institutions that fail to adapt and that fail to be very quick in responding to public discontent based on the archaic nature of their rules. They will suffer a loss in viewership. They will, because how many people were just gonna watch this lady run alone, right? You don't have no Usain Bolt in there. I cannot think of a single other Olympic sprinter name. I can't, right? So there's financially that decision doesn't necessarily make sense. You're now ostracizing a group of people that maybe might want to even boycott based on that rule. You're dealing with COVID restrictions, which already is an increased cost. Rules don't apply for many things in this day and age. If there was ever a time to be able to be flexible with the rules, it's right now, And we're not saying we're not saying break the door down for that, because everything has a process, and especially when it comes to drug testing, if you're up on USADA and you're up on the lengths that they go from a scientific perspective to even define what is allowed to be considered a performance enhancing substance, and we're not discounting the science of that. However, some things do not need to be upheld to that type of bureaucracy, especially when the victim is something that is a financial disincentive and a social disincentive, because I think they have an opportunity to be inclusive. It's the time for inclusivity right now. It's the time for open-mindedness. This is the time for being able to say, listen, that rule made no sense. Let's change it. We saw them do it with Dave Chappelle.
Yep.
If they can make the NBA season shorter, you can allow somebody to smoke weed. If they can make the NBA season shorter and all of the top athletes get injured in 1 week, in one playoff series, everyone's injured right now, all the stars are sitting out, then you can definitely make some space for a little bit of THC in the system, man. Come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And don't quote me on this, but I think the NBA did move to limit drug testing specifically for marijuana in the players earlier this season. And I think that
that's
just
true.
Yeah, and I think that just speaks to kind of the note I want to end this on is I appreciate you, Zoe, for saying kind of what I was saying in a much more human way, in terms of this as being an opportunity to change the rule, and them just deciding to uphold it in the face of that, at the expense of this person, and at the expense of people in that representation that you would have brought, the feeling that I expressed at the beginning of this segment, at the expense of that. And I think Black people in general are tired of having our heroes, our champions, our representation ripped away for frivolous reasons, when we see other people flaunt just have no respect for any type of the rules, and keep on rocking. So I want to end this just centering on her humanity, hoping that she's good, hoping that dealing with the passing of her biological mother is something that she's finding healthy ways to deal with, that her family is can be kind of at the forefront and there for her through this, because just finding out that she passed through the media, and just having to deal with this all of this big institutions, the media, having to deal with CNN, the U.S. Olympic Committee is a lot for a young person, and for her to, they're not doing a very good job of treating this person like a human. So I just feel for her, and I am a part of the Richardson Club. Shout out to her.
Yeah, bro. But you also know how hard people train to go into the Olympics. That I would be so upset if I was her. It's like studying super hard for a test and then being told you're disqualified for cannabis. It's the same type of lunacy. It's the same type of lunacy, dude.
I like that. I like that comparison you just drew there. It's incredibly frustrating. And I'm sure that she, as a champion, as a true champion, was sure that she was going to dust everybody. Is devastated to not have had the opportunity to do that. And if y'all are scared of Sha'Carri just dusting and smoking all of these other countries and all of these other different people that y'all got competing against it, then just say that, just say that.
Hey, man. Yo, Miles, I wanted to inquire with you. Have you been up on all these crazy crazy weather and nature phenomenons that are happening, just like the landslides that's happening in Japan, and the rising in the water levels, heat waves, all of that?
I saw a really unfortunate video of the mudslides in Japan that was taking out houses in the community. People are, I think, definitely still missing. Um, Man, that's just it's tough. It's tough to see. Like, it's one thing when it's Mother Nature in general. We can't really stop that. There ain't really much you could do. You know what I'm saying? Except evacuate. And to see that we're causing more and more of this, or at least to have that understanding is really, it's really heartbreaking. I saw that we continue to mess up the environment. An underwater pipeline exploded near the coast of Mexico and created a fire there, like endangering the environment.
Yeah, I actually have an article on that. So if you want to hit me with a young drop to get into it. So we're pulling this from India Today.
We're today. We got it from there today.
India Today is the news outlet that I'm reading this from.
Oh, should I queue up Indian the box?
Do you have it?
I probably do. We'll tell you the Indian the box story is a Patreon. Look out for that.
Shout out to our Indian community. We were just in the last international trip we took. We went to Jaipur, and then we also went to Goa. So shout out to all my people over there. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
A gas leak from an undersea pipeline of state-owned oil company Petróleos Mexicanos, or Pemex, caused a fire on the ocean surface of the Gulf of Mexico. The flames on the Gulf, a gas leak from an underwater pipeline caused a huge fire on the ocean surface of the Gulf of Mexico. The visual of a fire breaking out in water went viral on social media. The flames resembled molten lava and were called the Eye of the Fire. Various journalists and publications from Mexico and elsewhere shared clips. Yeah, have you seen the image? Have you seen the video?
I've seen the image. Yeah.
Crazy looking. It's crazy looking.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. And it's kind of sad that, it has to be visibly spectacular for people to really pay attention. You know what I mean? But that notwithstanding, it's just another sign that, we continue, we as individuals not doing anything, and we as countries and big business continue to put the environment at major risk at the expense of, industry. And in some ways, we have to devote more resources to figuring out the energy issues that make some of those risks necessary. But in a lot of ways, it's just our stubborn refusal to acknowledge the science of what we're doing to our environment and how little time we have to turn back the clock on that.
Yeah. And, something that my sister pointed out is that if the fire is on the surface, what does that mean for the temperature? What does that mean for the temperature in that area? So there's a lot, the ecology of that area is getting very, very disrupted right now. I mean, like, if you know how sensitive oceanic animals are to just temperature changes, especially at that level and that intensity, and also gas pollution and things like that, there's a huge environmental effect that's happening on there. I saw somewhere else that a cargo ship, the Chinese cargo ship, fell into the water that was carrying these chemicals into it, these biochemicals into it, and just ended up a bunch of animals washing up dead into the ocean. These are morbid, sad convos to have, but the reality is, like, they're happening. I don't know what the solution in stopping these things is, but watching that is seeing that fire on the water. How do you put out a fire that is in the ocean?
Yeah, I don't know. You got me there. That's this week's All the Way Live riddle. But I would say that it is really tough to look at all of these stories and imagine what you can do about, a fire and water in somewhere near Mexico, right? If you're not there, and even if you are close to Mexico, shout out to our Mexican listeners, right?
Yeah.
Love y'all, truly. But it can be difficult to imagine what you can do about it. But I think these can just be reminders that we are messing up our environment. And so as much as we might want to say it doesn't matter what we do with our plastic, with our trash, whether we make a stand in our own lives, you better, because we are on the whole creating more damage than any one of us can cause collectively, and with industry and with business, right? So there's a and then just trying to create energy. So I think this is a reminder for everyone that, yeah, all of the, like, I hope you do recycle, right? I hope you don't litter. I hope you do neighborhood cleanup type stuff if you get an opportunity. If it's your one volunteer thing of the year, pay more attention to global warming. I think these type of catastrophes, if nothing else, should say we are creating an unsafe environment for ourselves, and we all need to take a personal stake in it, because as a collective, we've allowed it to run amok.
Yeah. And
Run amok.
when you look at the figures, what you do see is that recycling, like household recycling and individual, let's say individual green efforts, right, that are common household green efforts, they actually don't have that massive of an impact on the mass amount of pollution and stuff that's going on, even with throw away your plastics and replacing plastic straws. Plastic straws actually only account for 3% of all of the plastic that's found in the water, in the ocean. But the social act of having the intention to recycle and be more green is clearly has forced a lot of big businesses to focus on it. And as we collectively make that something that we ingrain in our lowest, let's say in the most daily of routines, the more it becomes a social norm, the more it becomes something that we as a society demand, and the more we put cash behind it, then eventually the things that that don't abide by that are things that eventually phase out. The oil and gas industry right now is shrinking. If you look back on the last 20 years, what the top 5 companies in the US were, they used to be energy companies. Now they've actually even been bumped out of the top 10 20 years later. So that industry is shrinking, especially because of these green this green focus that everybody is having, demanding electric cars and whatnot. So it's very easy to look at the numbers and be like, man, I ain't got to do nothing. That doesn't work. Nah, but if maybe not in the literal impact, let's say maybe not in the percentage of the impact we have on the total world, you know what I mean, on our output. But I think ingraining that into our society might be something, not might be, is something that clearly can lead to a lot more change than individual plastic recycling might be able to do.
Yeah, I think you're 1,000% correct, right? I think if you look at what the majority of the waste, like if you take a look at the oceans, it's created by these big corporations, right? And so it's about people taking a bigger stand in terms of addressing what corporations are doing, but how you going, go to your local city council meeting and hold the corporation that works at the seaside docks accountable for their fishing nets if you don't recycle yourself. You know what I'm saying? You look kind of silly if you're not living that. So I would say that educate, start to live in a way that reflects care for the environment, and then hold government officials, hold these big corporations accountable in the ways that you can, whether it's fishing, whether it's pollution through energy production, whether it's just big business waste dumping. Yeah, learn it, live it, and then tell them big motherfuckers to cut it out.
Yeah. Yo, man, that Gulf of Mexico area has been just, that area has been so impacted. Remember the big BP oil spill that happened? That was in the same area too. That's that same region. I can't imagine the impact that that's having on local farmers, on local fisheries, on the local commerce that happens over there, on the ecology, the animals. Hate to see it. Those pictures are wild, though. Wild. Literally a fire in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that point of emphasis. Like, this is the same spot where the BP oil spill happened, and we didn't decide then to just like, maybe we should get out of this area. We cleaned it up. Maybe we've done enough. Maybe we should just, water preserve. I don't know what the water equivalent of a forest preserve is, but you get what my point is. You know what I'm saying? We continued to operate and do, you know, even if it wasn't the same company, right? We had an opportunity to say, we messed up here. We could let's just leave it alone. And that's just not our nature. And I think that indicates the shift socially that we need to make in terms of how we treat the environment.
And you know why it's a little bit difficult too, Miles, is that, and I don't know if people know this, like the average consumer knows this, but in countries where you do have oil production, they actually divvy up and sell blocks of the ocean where you can go explore. So literally when they say you buy an oil block, they're referring to that block of land essentially that you have purchased this into. And once you've bought into that, you have a legal obligation, not even the right, a legal obligation to explore, develop, and then maintain that land. So
but if you freaking oil spill on that land, you lose your control of that land, first of all, after you clean it up. And then we should probably say nobody else gets this block. We done goofed up this block. Sorry.
But it's difficult. It's true that ideally that's what you'd want, but it's super difficult. You know, a lot of these companies also in legacy contracts, 50 years, 100 years, a basin like that has that much product. I'm sure these people are on 90-year contracts, something like that.
Ecosystems over contracts forever to the death of me.
Miles is the coolest tree hugger I've ever met.
Yeah, big tree energy.
Big tree energy. Hey, speaking of big tree energy, man. Speaking of big tree energy, tell me how, because I haven't actually spoken to you about this, man. How do you feel about this Tyler, the Creator album, if we're moving right into recommended and review?
I like it. I appreciate Tyler's versatility. I appreciate how many different sounds he's given us over the years. This is his 7th studio album. And I think it just shows growth. It shows somebody who's very comfortable in creating, somebody who's very comfortable in pulling from sources of inspiration and incorporating them into their music. Call me if you get lost, Tyler, the Creator.
It's fly. It's fly. It's very, very fly. So I call you and I say to you, hey, man, I don't know what you're doing, but if you like hip hop and you like nice things, give this album a run.
And I said, I like hip hop. And by golly, I also like nice things. So I will give it a run. And I did. And I think that just speaks to, you know, I wasn't in the place to, I wasn't thinking, I didn't run to this, right, on my own accord. It's funny how quickly music starts to come out, and then you go from like that feeling of a drought to like, man, I need some music, to like, all right, I just want to live with this album. Still been keeping that her rotation, still been growing with that Gold Link, trying to go back to that J. Cole, develop even like, you know, just yeah, it's I digest. But yeah, man, this Tyler the Creator album, immediately throwing it on, I heard why you called me to it. Similar to what I said on the Gold Link album, going through the first 2 tracks, I was like just very happy about the experimentation I was hearing, and hearing that it was working, right? So that what's it called? Corso is one of my favorite tracks on the whole joint. Track number 2. That's my type of stuff. Yeah, what were some of your thoughts? What were some of the vibes that you got from the album? What were some of your highlights?
Speaking about Cole, right? I called you and I said, I wonder if you'll be able to make a certain comparison with a certain artist. To me, this is Tyler, the Creator's KOD. Hear me out. Hear me out. You with me?
Especially the track featuring Daisy World. I definitely got J. Cole vibes, but let me hear more on this theory.
Mainly because the sound, I think this particular album is not Tyler's most experimental album. If you look at I think Igor's his most experimental album. Ego is a very brash, concept with an imagery to accompany it, and the musical aesthetic, in order to be very confrontational. A lot of screaming, a lot of electronic. It was a very it was a strong creative leap, and as Tyler does, he pulled that off, especially for his core fan base. Maybe didn't necessarily encompass the masses, but went with that. From there to drop this, which has a lot of commercial appeal, utilizing 42 Doug, utilizing Lil Uzi, utilizing NLE Chopper. I think in this he was like, oh, I see what you guys like and I see what you want, and I can do it better than the people that you like doing it. And I think that's why we hearing him just completely snap on it. This is KOD.
Yeah, I definitely felt him pulling from a lot of different sources, to your point. So I definitely see that comparison. I felt like Cole was doing a much more on the nose, like, imitation to fit his point, where Tyler, I feel like, is still just making the music but borrowing from styles from Brockhampton, from the AG Club, from Mick Jenkins, kind of on the hip hop side, on the rap side, on the like experimental, like you said, brash beats, instrumentation, and then borrowing. I think I heard a little bit of Anderson .Paak, definitely some Childish Gambino, in just the kind of R&B alternative kind of vibes he was giving, and even production wise, I heard some pulling from, of course, Alchemist, Harry Fraud. I definitely heard some lush, lavish beats that he, in even like Freddie Gibbs fashion, was comfortable kind of being offbeat, almost in a Griselda-esque way. So I think this does pull together a lot of things about hip hop that we're seeing right now, and distorting it into an interesting alternative vision. And I dug it much more than Igor. This one was, I got the experimentation, I got what he was trying to do, and I found a lot more that worked for me in it.
You know what I dig about this too, especially as somebody that grew up on the Gangsta Girls mixtape, that grew up on DJ Drama. Like, I think this was an ode to that time, really giving it a hip hop, a mixtape, an early 2000 mixtape feel. And you feel that a lot on that Wheezy track. The fact that he's got Wheezy on there, and he's got Wheezy snapping, and he's got, and this funny, we joke about DJ Drama interrupting things constantly. This was, I think, the best use of DJ Drama on this mixtape. And like, if you have like your Kendrick Lamar's dropping Damn with Kid Capri on it, and it, as almost an homage to that time, I think that is Tyler's version of that for our generation. And I think he pulled that off well, especially because he's got Wheezy Wee on there dropping one of the best Wheezy verses I've heard in a long time.
Well, yeah, I think I forget who originally dropped it, which shows, how I be in and out of certain aspects of the culture. The Instagram part ain't for me, but somebody dropped a list of the top 10 rappers that had some of our favorite rappers in quite a tizzy. Conway was kind of talking some smack. Benny was getting in on it. But yeah, I forgot my point with that. But there was a list of rappers. Wayne was on that list, even in 2021. And with BB King, freestyle, with a few of the features that he's had this year, I think he's Miseducation with Cowboy. Weezy's still very much showing that he can make music in any decade. He's been doing it. He's what, 3 decades in right now? This is crazy.
Yeah.
But for me, getting back to Tyler, you're so right with the DJ Drama, like accompaniment. There was so much engaging production, even from the shortness of the songs, right? Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then you get to the Brent Faiyaz joint, got that 10-minute joint snuck in there, which I really wanted to like, but it sounded a little too much like they were going for an extended Earthquake to me. And I was like, But overall, Corso, What's Your Name, Lumberjack, Hot Wind Blows, my highlights.
It's dope, man. It's dope. The first half for me was definitely a lot stronger for me. So I dug that Lemonade. Yeah, I dug that Lemonhead. I dug that Manifesto, Juggernaut. Even the what's the name? Even that 90s R&B feel too. I really dug how I pulled that off. All in all, man, I think this dude was very surgical with this thing. I think he was very intentional about it. I think this shows just creative prowess, being able to take the style that people like and be like, cool, and I'm gonna do this in Switzerland, and I'm gonna do it on a mountain. And we saw videos back in quarantine when he was in Switzerland producing the stuff, and we're like, oh, this is dope. And to see what comes from that, you as a man who loves Switzerland himself, I must say I can admire that type of panache.
Hey, panache is for sure the word. Big Drip. This album is straight vibes. Yeah, I recommend one listen to, like, it's probably one of the more experimental albums that I could recommend one listen to anybody. Give it one listen and like skip through it if you need to. I think you'll find something you like. There's a lot there.
But because we're now at month 7, right? And I know I'm putting you on the spot over here. If we have to list our top hip hop albums very quickly, if you can just give me a quick, what is your top maybe 3 to 5? And I will start by saying the best hip hop album of this year is Makami's Pray for Haiti. I put that first, and then
Okay.
I'll go to. I'll put that first, and that's where I'm settled on right now. That's what I know for a fact. That's first.
Miles, I'm putting you on the spot. I need 3 to 5 names from you. I'm gonna give you one and go.
Your turn. Take it away.
Well, if we're gonna keep it hip hop, then I think that Mac Hami is definitely on my top 5. But I got to put that Benny the Butcher, The Plugs I'm at 2. Above that, got to do that. Let's see. I got to put I'm thinking Voice of the Heroes might be in there. Just volume of music that I think will stay with us. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to that I think is gonna be it. I think 42 Doug's album is gonna be in there. I think Isaiah Rashad's album is gonna be in there. We know that's coming. Yeah, this is tough. I think whatever Meek project drops, but I think for now I'd say Benny the Butcher, Mac Hami. Man, I'm gonna hate myself later for this list, but
for sure, we'll come back to it.
Voice of the Heroes. 3, and let me get y'all two more. I'll go with that Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack so I can cheat a little bit.
Nice.
Because that What It Feels Like is fire. There's just so much there. Even though it's not all hip hop. And this is real tough. But I guess I can put that Tyler in there as a placeholder for now. And we'll see what the rest of the year brings.
You can definitely do that.
T Grizzly's album wasn't bad.
That's right. T Grizzly wasn't bad. Also, you're looking at that Young Thug. It wasn't Slime Life, was it? Damn, I'm.
Oh yes, I'd probably put that up there. Actually,
Slime Language 2.
Yeah, that's competing for 5 with this Tyler album. That's definitely up there.
You got Culture 3 if you want that. You got some Sayari the Kid albums that dropped.
Ooh, I gotta check out that Sayari. G Herbo dropped this Friday. I followed your lead and listened to the Tyler, but I need to check out that Herbo.
In the same way you take my advice on that, please listen to that Peter Rosenberg Real Late album, bro. There you go. Peter Rosenberg's Real Late. That bro, listen to that.
I'm with it.
How many mics are we giving it so we can close this up properly and give it to the people?
I'm giving this 3.5 mics. I'm giving it 3.5. That feels a little stingy, but I'm trying to look to the future, not giving myself any recency bias, reserve what I hold as a 4. I'm gonna give this 3.5 mics.
Do we want to talk about how we don't care about that J. Cole album anymore, or are we just gonna keep it pushing?
You know what, dude? I stand by, because I think I gave that 3 mics.
I stand by my thoughts on that J. Cole album. It certainly wasn't a step up for me. You would be hard pressed to call it bad rapping, but I think it doesn't have anything that particularly makes me care about it. Yeah, I think I don't care. Sounds like it's bad and it's not, but I don't care is the real feeling.
Interesting. Only Cole album that I've yet to go back to. This is the least replayed Cole album that I've received so far since Friday Night Lights.
I would say that I probably this. I would
Even before
say
Friday Night Lights.
yeah. I really didn't go back. I took changes from For Your Eyes Only, and that was about it.
You know I love For Your Eyes Only. You know I love that.
Neighbors is all right. Neighbors and changes. So, but I really only have Punch in the Clock from the off season. So yeah, it's those two and his first album. But we can't forget J. Cole 18 months ago bodied every feature from every artist in the game, right? So whoever you think is the top artist right now, J. Cole made a song with them and bodied it. So
we got Cole fatigue, you think?
I don't think we got Cole fatigue. Maybe Cole, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I think Cole tries to pick a different direction and tries to make a point with each album, and this was just a miss, you know. In the way that we were ready for KOD, and whether you really like that album musically or not, it spoke to the time and nailed it spot on. I think this just didn't. Just was just a miss in that way, you know.
Yeah, and that happens. Listen, if there's anything that these people need us to review, to recommend, anything we should look at, anything we should pull open, please just let us know either in the comment section, send us messages, reach out to us, whatever, man. Like Miles said, whether you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, on SoundCloud, whatever it is, we see you and we appreciate it, man. That's what we do it for.
Yeah, big love energy, big appreciation energy. You know what I'm saying? Big hip hop energy, big tree energy. You know what I'm saying? Big summer energy this side. You know what I'm saying? Happy, cold, warm winter energy that side. You know what I'm saying? We wrapping y'all up in love that way. You know, my brother over here in the blue vest is looking like, you know, the silk turtle. Chestnut tones is in the building. Hazelnut tones is in the building, and we know.
We know.
We aware, man. You had to scroll past 5,000 podcasts to get to this one. There's too many options. And if you are here rocking with us at this point, we appreciate you. We have all the gratitude in the world. We hope that something we said, something you heard, lifted you up, found something that you could rock with, something you could laugh about, something you could bring and share to somebody else. This is a celebration of celebrating. This is a celebration of life. This is a celebration of how good it feels to be Black. Don't it feel good, Sway?
Everything in the world, man.
Yep, lifting up all the Black TikTokers, lifting up Sha'Carri Richardson. Like that. Peace, love, water. We go.
R.I.P. all my niggas, man.